What's up, everybody? Welcome to the State of Wild, episode 124, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name is Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by my two good friends and co-hosts, Roffle and Corbett. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Doing all right. As expected, as Corb predicted, we have a mini set coming, tomorrow as I'm recording this. So clearly, we're going to talk about some of the new cards that will save us from all of the misery that we were complaining about last week, and everything will be better.
I think that's a near guarantee. I'm looking forward to all the new stuff, and nothing that'll break wild in any capacity, as far as I can see.
Yeah, definitely not. I got nothing witty or anything. Let's just hop into it. Let's talk about new cards. It's always exciting to talk about, and it's always a long time on the episode when we talk about them. So let's just hop right on into it. We're returning back to Nax. Finally, all of the memes are actually accurate and useful when people spam Nax out. We're returning to Naxxramas. It's got a whole bunch of like actual lore implications for the Death Knights. I don't know any of them, but apparently there is a lot of lore implications. And so here we are, and let's dive into it with the first of 11 classes, and that is Death Knight. Death Knight getting a colossal minion in this mini set. So it is kind of tradition. The last mini set of every Hearthstone year does kind of recap a lot of the previous themes and mechanics from the entire year. And so Death Knight no longer left out. Gets a colossal minion, gets a location. And so the colossal minion is Frost Queen Sindragosa, 7 mana, 6/6, Undead Dragon. 1 blood rune, 1 frost rune requirement. So I think the first multi-runed card that we've seen so far. Colossal +2. After an enemy minion is frozen, destroy it. The 2 little minions that it summons are Sindragosa's Wings. They are 2/1s with Rush that freeze any character damaged by this minion. So basically 7 mana, 6/6, destroy 2 things is what it ends up being on its baseline, with the upside of additional freeze effects, also killing minions instead. So it's in blood and frost, and it's not an even card. So memes aside, how playable do we actually think this card is?
I mean, I don't know. I think it would be close if it were like maybe just a blood card, but then that wouldn't make sense with like thematically. I don't think also blood needs more 7 mana minions in order to be a successful like wild deck. I don't know. Like, I love the card. It's really cool. I don't see it being like wild viable, both because of the cost and because of the rune cost too, just like the deck building cost. Rainbow Death Knight has been floating around in standard, but even there, it's like an aggressive deck, and it wants to be an aggressive deck. It wants to remain an aggressive deck. It doesn't want a 7 mana colossal minion coming down. So like blood seems to be the only rune right now that can like carry an expensive card. And then on top of that, like both frost and blood kind of want their triple rune cards in as their big payoff. So it's like it's hard even in an ambitious world where you can reliably get to turn 7, and this will make a meaningful impact, to see a deck where you want to exclude those cards in order to fit this one in.
Yeah, I mean, it's unplayable because of the requirements, basically. I am excited, though, that they're doing dual rune stuff. Like, this is something I kind of talked about a bit previously, where right now Death Knight is obviously very, like, sectioned off into its 3 main archetypes, and you do triple rune, whatever. So I think, like, having incentives to really overlap and mix and match would be really great. It's just, this is one payoff, and one payoff is not enough when you have cards like Marogar, right? Like, why would you ever do an aggressive triple, why would you do a rainbow aggressive deck when you have like Marogar and Grave Strength and things like that? So hopefully this is just like a sign of things to come, and there's a bit more like overlap and diverse deck building going on in Death Knight in the future. Because the deck's, like, the card's fine. The card's solid, it compares to Krakatoa and stuff. Like, it's a good, efficient removal pace. It's just, not for now.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it. I don't think the card is very playable in Wild, but I do think it's super sweet that they're doing the multi-rune cards, and hopefully this isn't just a one-time thing for a legendary that's like, iconic, right? And that's why they did it. I do hopefully think that it's a sign of things to come.
Finish off that point, I think it's likely that they will have multi-rune cards in the future, and probably more commonly, just because like there are going to be fewer Death Knight cards released than were in that big assortment that got dumped all at once, that like sort of forced or defined Death Knight as a class. So I think in the future it's more likely we do get like multi-rune cards. So hopefully it is a trend.
Yeah, hope so. All right, so Death Knight is also getting a location to represent Nathria. It is a 3-mana location with 3 durability that says destroy a friendly minion to summon a 4/5 undead with Rush. So it's also important to note that it doesn't have to be an undead minion like Dark Transformation. It is any friendly minion. And so this seems like pretty strong. Seems very good. There's no rune requirement to play it. But it's not even, right? And so how are we going to play it?
I mean, that's really the only thing lacking from this card, right? Like, it's a pretty high quality card on its surface. Like, it allows you to leverage a board lead into a better board lead. And as we've seen with some of the other like locations, 3 charges is a lot, and you get a lot of use over it over the course of the game. The problem is it's odd, so bummer.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a world where I think the people that are experimenting with like Reno Death Knight are all playing like blood stuff that's super slow and control-y. But I do wonder if there's like a world where you're playing like maybe a non-even Unholy Death Knight, or maybe you're playing more like a tempo-based Reno Death Knight. And then I think this like absolutely shines in that deck. I just don't know if we have the card quality right now to support it, but I think it is a very, very strong card.
Yeah, there's just not enough like wild specific stuff for like an unholy aggro deck right now. There is like something that's interesting coming in the neutrals, but there's not really much else that really raised my eyebrows for that deck. Wild.
Yeah. All right. We do have one last one called Rhymescale Siren. This is a 3-mana 2/3 undead Naga with 1 Frost Rune requirement. Battlecry: if you've cast 3 spells while holding this, freeze 3 random enemy minions. So it's got that Naga kind of thing going on with it, right? Where if you've cast spells while it's in your hand, you get this benefit, and it's a pretty strong benefit. It's just like, what are the 3 spells that we're casting in Wild, and at what point does that mean that this is coming out? And at that point, is it too slow? And it's also a Frost card, and so it's got a whole lot of things potentially holding it back with in terms of support, at least in our format.
It's not good, Meowth. You can just say it's not good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Frost Death Knight was close, and then they nerfed Glacial Advance, and it just set it back so far in Wild especially. And so it's just like, yeah, this card also gets hurt really bad by the Glacial Advance. It's coming out even slower. It's just, yeah, it's rough.
I was trying to be positive, all right? It's brand new class, brand new card. All right. Anyways, Demon Hunter, sticking with this having this in your hand while you cast spells. Fellscale Evoker, 6-mana 5/7 Demon Naga. Battlecry: if you've cast 3 spells while holding this, summon a different demon from your deck. So big Demon Hunter. You're playing spells in the early game, and then you play this, and then you summon the Pit Lord guy, the 9-mana 7/9. Yeah. Is this another one where I'm talking too much about a card that's just probably not good enough? Or do we think this like actually supports that archetype?
I think there's going to be a theme for a lot of these cards, and I've seen this take on Twitter, so it's certainly not original. But like, why do these cards have restrictions? Why do they have requirements to play them when just like we've seen cards with the effect that are like, barely playable? Like this card is better Carria for sure, but Carria got nerfed. But it's also like it's 3rd set, and it's for Wild. It's just like, if you crossed out that first sentence, maybe it would be playable. Maybe it would make Big Demon Hunter worth considering. But with that first like phrase, not even sentence, I guess, with that first phrase, it's just like you can't top deck the card, and like the requirements make a lot of these cards pretty unplayable.
Yeah, I hate this card for like many reasons, so I'm ready to explore this. Number 1, you can't actually play it in like a big demon deck, right? Because it's got the demon tag itself. So like anything that's like summon a demon from deck, it doesn't work because this card is like awful to get off that, which means that you basically have to play it in the exact same spot where you would play Carrier, where you're playing this in a deck where there's like 1 or maybe 2 big demon payoffs, and you're just looking to slam it down. That's like your mana cheating thing. And that's pretty good. It's just like the requirement is kind of brutal. And Carrier, once it gets reverted on rotation, it's probably just better than this, just because the requirement, and like Roffle said, if you ever top deck this, it's awful. And also, like, it's probably going to be going on in a fairly aggressive deck, where you're probably not going to be that spell dense anyway. So, I don't know. I hate it. I hate that we're going back to the well for, like, the 712th time for, like, Big Demon Hunter, and then it's going to flop again. And, like, it's just Carrier 2.0, essentially, for that kind of deck. So, like, get it out. I hate it.
I also hate that when we're like revisiting these old archetypes, they're like, this is more strict, I feel like, of a restriction than we've seen in the past. Where like I thought for a lot of the other Nagas was like, if you just cast a spell while holding this, like I feel like it'd be a lot better than
if you just drop the demon tag on it. I realize it's there for flavor, but if the demon tag is dropped, all of a sudden you can play it with things like Sigil and like the other big recruit cards and things like that. So it's just nuked on arrival.
Yeah. All right, we spent a lot of time talking about this card that's just absolute trash. Let's talk about a weapon that might be decent enough for Outcast Demon Hunter. No? Okay. Well, we're going to talk about it anyways, and that's Calamity's Grasp. Excuse me. That is a 1-mana 1/2 weapon. Death Rattle. Add a random Outcast card to your hand. So 1-mana weapon that gives you an Outcast card that discounts your Walloper.
Have you guys played with Exile? Because, man, there are some trash Outcast cards out there.
There sure are, but you also have the, like, I got 3 philosophies in a row off of it, so, you know, you can dream.
Yeah, look, there's some good stuff there, too.
Yeah, it does have some good stuff in there, too. But, yeah, there are some real stinkers of, like, Outcast cards that you don't want to get that are way too high of a cost. And, like, it's just doing something worse than, like, you know, the Wretched Exile already is doing, right? Because the deck is not really hurting for either another weapon or like card generation. Like it can get moving. It doesn't need it any more help, and it doesn't need it in the form of a 1/2 weapon in particular.
Yeah, I wish this card says draw. Like, I would love this if it said draw so much.
I thought it did at first, and I was like, "Ooh," and then I reread it, and
yeah, that first 120 seconds Roffle, I was very excited about this card, and then the reading skills had to kick in, unfortunately.
Yeah. That damn reading thing, dude, always ruining cards. Does this makes that 4/4 that you get off your Wretched Exile less dead, right? Because this gets drawn off the 4/4, or does the 4/4 only draw minions?
You can generate the 4/4. Wait,
that draws this out of your deck.
Or does it destroy a card?
I don't actually know. That's what I was asking. I don't know.
I see what 4/4 you're talking about.
Okay. The worst Outcast card, Roffle. The one you
absolutely. Well, see, the thing is every time I generate it, I never play it because it's so horrible. So
and therefore you never read it again, and so we still don't know what it does, right? Yeah. All right. So far, we're 0 for 5 on potentially playable cards. This is a great start, great sign. Last but not least for Demon Hunter, we have Shambling Ciao. So kind of a zombie Ciao throwback here. 1-mana 2/3 undead minion with Rush. Death Rattle, deal 4 damage to your hero. Is this good enough for just like an aggressive Demon Hunter deck?
Yeah, this.
So 1-mana 2/3 with Rush. Yeah.
Like old Zulok just ran Zombie Chow for a long time because it was just like good card. A 1-mana 2/3 was insane, and then a 1-mana 2/3 that like takes back the board if you're going second. Like this offsets like the disadvantage that you have in going second in an aggro deck. Like this card seems great. Like you probably just throw this in every single Reno Death or Demon Hunter that will eventually become a thing. I promise. Over time, like I think it's it's a good card.
Yeah, it's great whether you're playing it in just like a standard ripoff, like an aggro deck, or if you're just playing an odd Demon Hunter. Also, you know, Undertaker implications. You know, they keep going back to this Death Rattle thing. Like, it's a really, really good card with Undertaker, so they keep exploring that in Demon Hunter. I don't know. I don't think we need to talk about this too much. Like, very, very strong card. So
I think we just need to talk about. We finally got a good one, a potentially playable card, 6 cards in, which is nice.
yeah, no longer in shambles with
No
the
longer.
shambling chow.
See what you did there. All right, let's move into Druid here. Let's start with Life from Death, a card that like kind of spooked me when I first read it. So I don't know if you guys are gonna feel the same. So it's a 6-mana nature spell that says draw 3 cards, infuse 6. This cost 1. Hey, you know what? Summon 6 minions that Druid loves to play. The little Flipper Friends card, or that Scala Nixia card. The Druid already loves to play. Seems really, really strong with this. I don't know how you guys are feeling about it. Does this fit into that gloops token spam kind of shell that Druid is running now? How do we like it?
My initial instinct was yes, but now I'm kind of like a little bit less hesitant or skeptic, or a little bit less sure of that, just because like infuse 6 is a lot even with those cards. Without those cards, it's just completely unplayable, unless you're running an alignment deck, which nobody is anymore. So I don't know. Like some decks were already running like composting, but composting could honestly be like troublesome at times, even like in drawing you too many cards. So maybe 3 is just a good number. It's more cards than nourish. I think it's one of those cards where initially I was really high on it, but now I think I need to see how it actually plays before properly evaluating it. So I'm definitely going to try it, and we'll see.
I actually really like it. Like, I think it's better than composting in that type of archetype. Just for mana reasons, right? Not that Druid usually struggles for mana, but the fact that it is so efficient with Flipper Friends and Scale together is really promising. So I think it's good in the ramp Druid decks, like whatever that ends up looking like. I think it's also maybe a potential include in Beast Druid, because it works really well with bees. Haunter Creeper, not aggro Druid by any means, but with bees in particular, like that's a good way to kind of rip through some of the infused targets and things like that. And like composting isn't quite as effective in that deck, it feels like. So yeah, I don't know. It's another place I was potentially looking at.
Yeah, that's
a call.
Yeah, that's a good shout, because composting always is either really, really good or really, really bad, I feel like, in Beast Druid, and this maybe kind of toes that line of just like the floor is a lot higher, which is potentially really, really nice. So that's a good shout. All right, so next up for Druid here, Savagery has been power crept, maybe, question mark, with a card named Rake. It's a 1-mana spell that says give your hero +2 attack this turn, deal damage equal to your hero's attack to a minion. So this feels like it really only has one place, and that is Questline Druid, Lost in the Park Druid, but it seems like a slam dunk in that deck.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, like, could that deck just be a good right now? Like, it excels when there's a lot of hyper aggro. It tanks up a whole lot. It just goes face, ignores like a pirate rogue board. Even Shaman's kind of annoying because they make taunt totem, but you rake it now and just keep sending damage upstairs. Theoretically, you get out of range of like disco lock damage early if you get enough armor, and maybe the same is true for Pillager. Like, is that deck just like good right now? It was good at a previous time when there's a lot of aggro, especially like it just outpaced Kingsbane for a while. Like, could we just be like sleeping on an old deck that could have a shot right now?
It's funny you're talking about this, Roffle, because recently Maxi was playing Questline Druid and he hit top 10 legend with it. He had an excellent win rate, so he was doing the same thing, the idea of beating out Disco and the aggro decks and things like that. So maybe like the more like weird and solitaire the meta gets, like Questline Druid is such a weird deck where it just like thumps the decks that it wins against, and it's like it just wants no taunt, and if it can just get that, no taunt, no combo, then it's usually like pretty solid. But yeah, this card in particular, like, I mean, it's stupid good, right? Like you get to kill minions of progress quest. Like, yeah, great.
It does what 2 cards currently do in that deck, like in 1 card for 1 mana, right? Like it's like it's silly.
Yeah, it's very efficient. So
yeah, very, very good card. All right, last but not least here for Druid, we've got Death Beetle. So it's a 6 mana 6/6 undead beast with taunt. Mana Thirst 11, gain +4/+4, and charge. And so I don't know if you guys have seen the flavor text on this card or not, but it was like, wow, what a weird card to print because it'll only be playable for 2 months, right? Or wink, wink, or will it? Kind of hinting at that they're going to be printing some more Guff-like effects potentially coming soon, which is an issue, concern thing in its own right. But Death Beetle. So I think the important thing here is charge, right? It can hit face. There was a deck in Standard, early parts of last year that played Smite with like copying Smite and doing things like that. Is there a world, because it's a lot easier to copy beast minions in Druid, where you're like we're looking at like a combo deck potentially with playing this and hitting face, and it's probably not an efficient combo compared to everything else Druid can do, but I'm sure there's something.
Yeah, I mean, it's you play Death Beetle, you play the 6 mana summon a copy of a beast, then you play Battle Master, and then you realize that you've lost the game 7 turns ago. So doesn't matter. I think something to keep in mind before you start raising the pitchforks about the Mana Thirst 11 is that this is the state of Wild we are going to be playing with Guff for the rest of eternity regardless. So unless they print something that's like equal in terms of Guff's ability efficiency, which I think is unlikely, it's not really that meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like Wild Growth change to like gain a mana crystal, increase your max mana by 1. Like that could be something that they do, or like a Overgrowth reprint where it's the same thing, like increase your max mana by 2. I don't really mind the idea of like Druid going above 10 mana though. Like I think the 20 mana limit is probably a little high for like one card, like that's a bit much, especially when we have Twig Sphere, but this is like a thing that Druid does. I definitely don't hate it at all.
Yeah, and realistically, how often does Druid get to 20 mana without a Twig Sphere? Like that to me indicates that Twig Sphere is a big culprit in that problem, rather than just like Guff stuff. Like if you get to Guff and you're slowly ramping your way towards 20 mana, it's just like that's kind of fine for the format.
Yeah.
How quickly we've changed, right? Where that's just it's fine. It's fine.
Don't worry about it. With this card, one thing to note is that I think the gain +4/+4 in charge, so that's like that doesn't transform the card, right? This isn't an infused card, so when it comes back from like resummons, it won't have charge, it won't have the +4/+4. So your what's the card called? The 3 mana summon a beast, Witching Hour. Yeah, so those dreams are dead. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you played like this with Naga Giant and Battle Master. Like, maybe that's a real thing that happens. Like, that way you're not as all in on the Death Beetle if you can just Naga Giant and Battle Master people. Like, that's the thing. I don't know.
It's cute. And then we go back to what I said at the very beginning of introducing this card of, it's not the most efficient thing that you could be doing, probably, but it's cute and it's fun, and I'm sure people will have fun with it, at least maybe in Standard. But, yeah, that's Death Beetle. I think the most important thing here was Mana Thirst 11, just kind of giving a hint at what might be coming in the future. All right, let's move into Hunter here and start with Faithful Companions. 7 mana spell. Discover a beast from your deck and summon it. Mana Thirst 10, also summon a copy of it. The Mana Thirst 10 is a little bit sad to see here, but it's very Guardian Animals-esque, but probably more geared towards the big beast rather than the 5-cost beast that Guardian Animals was, right? And so you're looking to say, summon the Mountain Bear, the King Crush, those kind of beasts from your deck, and then potentially late game summoning 2 Mountain Bears or 2 King Crushes or things like that. So yeah, it's very expensive is the big thing, right? Especially that Mana Thirst ability. So how are we feeling about this card in Wild?
Not great. Like it's like honestly, it's at least 1 mana too much to be considered for the format, right? Like we already have these effects in other classes, notably Big Priest, where you're not discovering it, but it also doesn't have like the specifications of it being a beast. So I don't know, feels bad. Like it's just getting to turn 7 is already a chore as it is. Getting to turn 10 is not worth like considering this card.
Yeah,
But I'll
tough
play
task for Hunter. Tough task. But yeah, very, very cool. Zul'jin? Zul'jin, like the Mana Thirst will go off, right?
So
Yeah, it
Reno
will.
Big Beast Hunter.
Yeah,
Is that what I'm hearing?
yeah. Ooh.
It's ambitious.
It pulls
It's
Mountain
it's
Bear,
probably an alright
Hydrolodon.
standard.
I think you probably
Well,
just want to play
Hydrolodon
like
doesn't even give the rush, is the issue.
right. Yeah, I think you just want to play like Secret Hunter with Big Beast at your top end, and that's
Yeah.
the
Cool
best you can
standard
do.
card, maybe.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Feels bad. All right. Let's talk about Trinket Tracker. 1 mana, 1/1 undead. Battlecry. Draw a 1-cost spell. I mean, we've seen the 1-drop tutor effects be powerful in the past, right? We're kind of regardless of the class that they're in. So seems like it'll have a home somewhere, sometime, maybe. Because, as long as you care about drawing a 1-cost spell, you're probably going to put this in your deck.
I think you might even just like I've been seeing a lot of Reno Hunter lists popping up on other servers doing reasonably well. I think you consider it there. You've got things like flare tracking, the new ricochet shot, and even just like the ping make a rush hyena thing is a pretty good pickup from this card. So like there are a lot of like 1 mana cards in Hunter that it's gonna sound silly, but you want to draw. Right. But the benefit of it is that not only do you draw it for it so that you have it when you need it, but you also draw it so that you're not top decking the 1-drop later in the game. So I think this card has potential. I think there will be a lot of people that will probably think to put it in Questline Hunter, immediately take it out when they realize that it's not the kind of card that deck wants.
Yeah, I agree with you on that last part. I think it's not a Questline Hunter card. I do think it's an odd Questline Hunter card, like specifically. Just because that deck's a bit more desperate for like anything that isn't a 3/3 rush tradable. But yeah, normal Questline Hunter, not so much. It's a very important card. I will say, like not just now, but moving forward. So whether we are talking about Arcane Hunter and being able to tutor out like tracking / ricochet shot, like this is an important sort of like tie-in card. The ability to tutor Play Dead. Again, Play Dead, one of like the highest potential upside cards in Wild. Like at some point, like the potential that it has is huge, and being able to tutor that is huge. Being able to tutor tracking if there's ever like more of a combo hunter. Like I said, it's like generically good card that can splash into a whole bunch of different archetypes in the future, even if it's not like super special right now.
Yeah. Not flashy, but it's like Cobalt Library, right? You're gonna shove it in a bunch of Hunter decks, kind of for the foreseeable future till the end of time, maybe. Glad we got that. Next up, another flavorful card here called Zombies. Kind of a throwback to the Druid card. 2 mana secret. After your opponent plays a minion, summon 4/1/1 zombies to attack it. And the upgraded version of this summons 2/2s, the upgraded version that you get off of Tavish. So obviously seems like a snipe effect, right? Probably just better than snipe if you're kind of wanting that effect, because at least leaves you behind bodies on board.
Yeah, I mean it's just kind of good, right? Like the only decks that it doesn't do well into are the decks that just don't play minions at all, which feels a little dumb. But specifically Big Priest and like Big Shaman, but that's kind of a big deal because it's good in the combo as well. Like it's good in the combo, it's good in the other aggro. Like it'll feel great if I play Beast Hunter and I don't feel like I instantly fold to Pillager. Like that's a big moment. And the infuse aspect of like infusing Shadehound is kind of big. Like works well with Hyena. So I don't know, better snipe. Like the only concern is that board space issue, like that minor issue where what if you're only summoned like 2 beasts or something. So, but I'm sure that can be a little bit played around in the matchups where it's most important, and things like that.
Yeah, it's also kind of a situation where in most of the times, if you only get 2 bees off of zombies, that's because you're winning the game. So like that's not necessarily the end of the world. Like yeah, it would be a bummer if it were happening against specifically Pillager, but most of the Wild player base does not play against Pillager is the good news there. So yeah, like so much so that I didn't even think about it in relation to Pillager. But this card seems pretty nutty. It also makes Tavish a lot better too, right? Because there are only so many improved secrets, but they've added some pretty stinker secrets recently that have like decreased the reliability of Tavish to get like the either final push across the finish line or defensive piece that you need. So yeah, overall just good card.
I feel like it actually makes Tavish worse. I feel like this isn't the one you want. Like,
I don't know.
Like, it's fine, but I think like with Tavish, it feels like you situationally really want things like Ice Trap, Explosive, Motion, like the most. And so with Tavish, like right now you're at 80% to find one specific secret that you want. By the time he rotates and they add them all back in, you're gonna be down to like 58%. So it's gonna be pretty much a coin flip as to like whether you get that sick explosive to win the game or you don't, and that makes me very, very sad. I like it when it's a very consistent effect.
Yeah, obviously, but like I guess that's fair.
Yeah. All right. So zombies and Trinket Tracker both looking like wild playable cards. 2 thumbs up from the guys when it comes to that card. All right, let's move into Mage, which I think is going to be the exact opposite of no thumbs up, because these cards are indeed Hearthstone cards. Spectral Trainee.
Are you sure about that?
I cannot be certain, but I'm going to kind of just put it out there anyways, that they may or may not be Hearthstone cards. Spectral Trainee, 3 mana, 1/4 undead. After you cast a spell, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions.
Oof.
So, yeah. No Flame Waker dreams or shenanigans there when it comes to Spectral Trainee. Do you guys even want to talk about this? Because
I mean, another important part is there's also no Sorcerer's Apprentice anymore. So like, or Direct Thar.
Come on, man. Can I go one episode? Like, what the hell?
I'm just saying. Like, there's just no reason to play this card.
I didn't bring it up this time, okay? I was innocent. Don't look at me. I tried really hard not to. All right. Whirl Weaver. 3 mana, 4/3 Elemental Naga. Battle cry. If you've cast a spell last turn, discover an elemental. I don't know anything about the elemental pool in any format, because they haven't been relevant for a long time in either format. 3 mana, 4/3 discover an elemental would have been, I
Roffle,
just feel like, a good card.
Roffle, what were you saying about like unnecessary conditions?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just somebody needs to come in with an editor marker and just like cross out that first line. We do actually know something about elementals, and it is that they haven't been relevant for quite a long time, and there's a very good reason for that, because they are trash. Like, there's just not like, especially discovering an elemental is just a really bad idea. It's not even like Mage has very good like class elementals, so you're not picking from a good pool to begin with. It's just bad. It's bad.
State of the Wild episode 1015, where I talk about the discover bonus and how upset it makes me that they took it away.
Yeah, I'm still so sad. All right, last but not least, Tear Reality. It's a 4 mana arcane spell. Add 2 random mage spells from the past to your hand. They cost 2 less. So in Wild, this reads, add 2 random mage spells to your hand. They cost 2 less.
I say this, I see it reads 5 dust. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a 4 mana arcane spell, though, for your Arcane Apprentice. 3 mana.
Hear me out. Here's the one good thing about this card is that, yeah, the ice block is the meme. It's going to happen every once in a while where like ice block is generated. It's going to piss standard players off. But what if it gets enough people complaining that we finally make it so that you cannot generate additional ice blocks out of nowhere, and like you just pull ice block out of the generation pool? This could do it. This could be the card that finally gets there. I've been saying this for 5 years now, that you shouldn't be able to generate additional ice blocks. Maybe this is the card.
I was actually thinking about this just this morning, like in a completely unrelated thing. I'd love it if they just did that. They just took it out. Because I was thinking about it in relation to the Shaman card and how they talked about the Colossals. They've intentionally pulled a card out, and it's like, yeah, that would be great if they did that with the Ice Block card.
Yeah. It happened to me just today. I was playing a horrible deck, and I would have won the game, but the third Ice Block got me.
I'm so happy you're still here, Roffle. I would have left the house, left the country, left the... like, it's tough to get over that whenever it happens. Yeah, I don't know why this card doesn't say Discover. Why is it random? It's worse to play. It's worse to play against. It's just a bad card in general. Like, is double Primordial Glyph grouped into one card for 4 mana oppressive? Like, no. Like, Glyph is fine, man. Like,
Yeah.
Especially when you're looking at all of the mage spells that weren't Ice Block that have been released in the history of Hearthstone, right? Like, they're Ice Block's a good one. There are also a ton of really crappy mage spells, so it's gonna feel really bad when your opponent gets Ice Block and you get
Glacial Mysteries.
Yeah.
Right. But not even that. There are a whole lot of mage spells that you will not even get a mana reduction from this on. So it's just like you're just really getting the shaft if you get something like a freezing potion or something like that too, right? Like there are a lot of
yeah. Mage
Tough,
cards.
Tough a couple expansions. Yeah, tough couple expansions for Mage.
Yeah.
All right.
At least other classes got cards.
Yeah, most is the important word here. All right, let's move into Paladin here. Paladin getting a pretty sweet legendary. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first time Paladin's gotten the Miniset legendary? And it feels like at least for the first time in a very long time. But let's talk about the Curator. So a Curator throwback, 5 mana, 4/6 with Taunt, Battle Cry. If your deck has no neutral cards, draw a minion of each minion type. So before it is very cool. Before we start the discourse, it's just important to point out that they are going to go back and add the mech tag to the Curator. I know there was a lot of discourse and arguments on Twitter, but they are going to go back and add the mech tag to the Curator. There are lore reasons for that. I don't know any of them. I'm not going to dive into them. I want to talk about this card, though. This card is sweet.
Yeah, the TLDR of those reasons is they got it wrong with the Curator, so they overcorrected and then got it doubly wrong with the Curator, which should be a mech. The Curator should not, but like, it was a mech for so long that it doesn't matter. Anyway, card's cool. It's just like you got to find the right pieces to go with it, right? Because it does have a pretty hefty restriction. A lot of the specific like minion types that you want to target are not necessarily class cards in Paladin. So you got to get really creative with your deck building, but at the same time, like, that's fun. That's what makes the card fun. And so it's a cool card.
Yeah. Like Light Ray being dual tribe is huge. You have Leviathan as mech. Anacreos is one of the dragons. McGurgle Prime is a Murloc is kind of a fun one. And Sinful Sous Chef is an undead. Those are some of the big ones that I kind of looked at. And I don't know, like you can do like a Libram Paladin type thing or like any other type of slower, more control-y Paladin. Downside, you're playing wild, so like if you're playing a deck like this, you have no disruption, you're gonna die to combo, and you're probably gonna be a little bit slow into the aggro decks. But the card's sweet. So, it's got that go for it.
Yeah, the sweet part is all that matters, though, right? When you're playing something called the Curator, and you're playing pure Paladin and Wild. So I'm down for it. I'm excited to see the shenanigans. We're playing Wild, right? We got all the access to all the minions that Paladin's ever had. I'm sure that there's like some sweet, I don't know. I was gonna say if you're doing Reno shenanigans, you could play the Highlander Finley, but then you can't play any of the Highlander support cards. So I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
So I wouldn't recommend doing that. But
here's my big brain plan with this though. You run Curator, double Stonehearth Vindicator, double Order in the Court, and you can maybe get away with squeezing in the new N'Zoth at your top end, as if those are your only spells, so that you can reliably hit him before the Curator. That's my game plan.
Let us know how it goes.
YouTube video right there.
Yeah,
I look forward to this.
We'll see. We'll see how many times I get frustrated by drawing an inactive Curator before I abandon that.
All right. Let's move on to the next minion here, and that is Goldwing. 4 mana, 3/5, mech dragon with Rush, Battle Cry. If you're holding a mech, gain Wind Fury. So I think we probably just look at this as a mech card because it is a mech dragon. And I look at this as a 4 mana, 3/5 mech with Rush. And most of the time, Wind Fury unless you're like top decking it. Which a 4-mana 3/5 rush Wind Fury mech that's probably going to be 2 or 3 mana if you're playing Mech Paladin doesn't actually seem like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and Mech Paladin does play maybe a little bit slower. It used to run the like flight plan guy, but it is still slower, right? Like, I don't know. I I think that he's just maybe use this as a dual tribe card for the Purator, and that's why it exists.
I'm gonna go with a hard unplayable on this one. Yeah, I mean, like, Mech Paladin is much more about just like vomit your small things, play the blub bubble bot. Sorry, it's been so long since I've seen mech cards. To give them all Divine Shield Taunt and just like keep smashing face. Like, this isn't very good, guys. It's a 4-mana 3/5. Like, what are you?
Well, it's a 3-mana 3/5. All right, and then it has Rush.
Got much more important things to do with your vomiting out 5 cards that you draw off Radar Detector. You know, you got to be efficient. We can't just be spending all this mana on Goldwing. Maybe if we deleted the text and the condition on it, we could have put it in some sort of hand buff paladin. But
mech hand buff
Yeah, there's
paladin
mech.
with
No.
Yeah. Yeah, these conditions are killing me, man. They're killing me. All right. Next up, we have Night of the Dead. 3-mana 5/5 with Undead. 3-mana 5/5. Battlecry, deal 5 to your hero. Mana Thirst 7, restore 5 health to your hero instead. All right, look, we've got a 3-mana 5/5. Ignore all the other text. It's a 3-mana 5/5 playable in Wild. You guys are having to think really hard, which makes me not very optimistic.
Not with a battle cry in Paladin, because then you can't play Weblore in your aggro deck. But like, if it had no text, maybe, maybe in Paladin.
Yeah, I mean, Wild is just not the format for like vanilla stats necessarily. So, like, again, you consider this if you want to draw it off of the Purator because you need an Undead to fill out your curve. Even though it's a 3-mana 5/5, it still doesn't have an immediate impact on the board, and like the turns 3 through 5 are pretty important in terms of like inflection points for Wild Hearthstone.
Yeah, actually, even without Battle Cry, I probably still wouldn't make it into like aggro pally. And mind blasting yourself is bad. So.
Believe it or not, that is true against a lot of the decks in the format.
Sounds like something a coward would say.
All right, let's move into Priest here, and let's start with the one that everybody's talking about. Let's start with Mindseer. So Mindseer is a 1-mana shadow spell that says deal 2 damage to a minion. If it dies, deal 3 damage to an enemy hero. Corb, I'm gonna let you explain the combo, and then I'm gonna let you talk about how scared we should be about this combo.
I'll let Roffle do the cooking on that last part, but I'll explain the combo. It's you do Radiant Elemental, and you play Test Subject. Test Subject reads, like if you play a spell on this, then when it dies, you get the spells back. So you have Radiant, you have Test Subject, you play Embalming, so that way you keep getting Resurrect, a Reborn on the Test Subject, and then you kill it with your Mindseer, you deal damage, your Test Subject gets resummoned, play Embalming, you kill it, you get your Test Subject and spells back, and then you play it, and then kill it. And if you do that 10 times, you've dealt 30 damage. And you will be able to do this 10 times. So we have a 4-card, 3-mana OTK in Wild.
Historically, I've been a real big doubter when it comes to these type of combos that are like brewed up prior to an expansion. It was true of Tiller. It was true of a lot of the decks that did or didn't make an impact in the format, or were or weren't super powerful in terms of how they ended up being. But this is one of the first times I can remember being like, yeah, this needs intervention probably before the set even releases. Like, this should not be released as it currently stands because of that fact. It's a 4-card, 3-mana combo. Like, that alone should just be disqualifying for any format. You'd consider that like you have Thrive, you have Shadow Visions, you have Insight, all to fetch the pieces. So you have Illuminate to discover spells in your deck. You have a lot of ways to tutor essentially the full combo, because you're probably not running minions aside from those two, and so insight into that is usually going to get you the minion that you're missing. And then again, the discover effects for the spells will help you finish that out. And like, it doesn't, yeah, it's possible it happens on turn 2. It doesn't need to happen on turn 2. The difference between a turn 2 kill and a turn like 3-4 kill is meaningless. Like, aggro decks are very rarely ending the game on turn 4. Like, coincidentally, I think the only time it matters is maybe against Pillager, when you're trying to race down the combo, and in which case they just like, they have the evasion advantage anyway. But I think this very likely could be pretty reliable as a combo happening turn like 3 or 4. But on top of that, it does not matter necessarily when it's happening, just because the threat of a 3 mana 4 card combo is just like, is a problem for the format, in my opinion. Like, is a problem in any format. Like, it just should not be that easy to kill the opponent from 0. Like, full stop.
Yeah, definitely a lot of things to hit on there. So I actually tried the deck in casual, where I just used a replacement card for Mindseer, just to say like, oh, I have the combo, you're dead, basically, and to see how consistent it was. I feel pretty confident in the version that I was playing, which was basically like no removal, turbo cycle, just find the combo pieces. This is going to kill on turn 4. Like, that's going to be feeling quite normal. Turn 5 is probably going to be, like, the average. But, like, turn 4 happens. I had a turn 2 combo in my first game. like the first game I queued up, I was like, oh, there are the... Oh, great. And, like, the opponents that I was playing against, no, they weren't playing Secret Mage. They weren't, like, heavily disrupting me and things like that. But it doesn't really matter. Is kind of the point, right? Like, it shouldn't actually matter whether this is necessarily good or not. The point is, it's very stupid. And it just by existing, you shouldn't get a situation where the format feels like it's particularly narrowed, right? You shouldn't just have to be playing Shadow Priest and Secret Mage and heavy disruption. And, you know, if you're not hitting that disruption, you're just dead on 4 or 5. Like, it's just a horrible game experience and things like that. You're going to queue it up, and people are going to OTK you on turn 3, and you're just going to, like, get pissed off. So, it's a thing. There's a chance that it doesn't go in the full combo build, because the package is actually so light. Like, there are decks that are just probably going to be looking to play like Radiant Elemental, and you just like have to slot in a few cards, and you can just like slot it in the way that people did that with Tiller in Darkglare Warlock. And then you just randomly sometimes kill people with a full OTK on like turn 5. So yeah, it's going to make it to live because they put out the patch and it's not getting like prevention. So it's gonna be there. But it'll be curious to see how long it sticks around. And I am curious to see just how warping and strong it is, regardless though of whether I think that has any impact on whether it should be nerfed or not.
Yeah. For what it's worth, we already have seen a tweet about it where they've like, we've seen the combo we're discussing. So hopefully that means that if it is a problem, it's very quickly addressed. But I don't know how much of that is just, you know, PR speak of, yeah, we're keeping an eye on it. It's on our radar. But yeah, it reminds me a lot of Switcheroo. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
It's very similar to Switcheroo, but the problem is I think it could be more
competitive. Maybe.
No, maybe not. Maybe not actually, because
Switcheroo was a turn 4, like that's right. Pretty bad.
I think it'll be pretty similar to what Switcheroo is. It just like it's essentially like you're assembling it all at once rather than Switcheroo did like the assembling of the combo over the course of multiple turns. So it's essentially the same. Yeah, it's going to be pretty disappointing when this inevitably does make it to live, because I think like a lot of people have been pretty outspoken about like, hey, this is going to be a problem. And I think it's going to be a problem. Like I don't want to live through another Switcheroo situation. And like Corb said, like the narrowing of the format is a problem, and it's already the problem that we're living in, and already the problem that people are complaining about. And then you're just exacerbating that like tremendously with this card, and Like there are a lot of people that are already, us included, pretty tired of where the format is right now, and this is like the singular thing that could maybe make it worse. Is really what it comes down to. Like this is it.
This
Yeah.
reminds me of that like Simpsons movie meme where it's just like it's the worst day of my life, and it's just like the worst day of your life so far.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see. We'll see if they emergency ban it, if they ban it at all, if they change it like Hysteria to only target enemies. I don't know.
I am a little disappointed this wasn't like caught.
Yeah.
I'll say that much as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because they clearly didn't know, and it's like I don't know. Like, I'm not. It's whenever like a snip snap echo type effect gets online, and it's like the Twitter police had to find it. Like, there's so many things that they do find, that they just happen to miss, and it just like there's so many things they do find that doesn't actually ever make it into the live game. But when something like this does make it into the live game, it's like that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like really weird when it took Twitter all of like 5 minutes of this card being released to kind of find the combo.
Got it in 15 seconds. Me out. Right. They spotted.
I mean, like, there's more people looking at something are going to be more likely to uncover it, but at the same time, this doesn't.
It just kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and you're just like, well,
a little bit.
You know.
Yeah. Do you want to
and
talk
when a
about
lot of people kind of spoke up.
Do you want to talk about the cards? Sorry, outside just the like the context of this combo, or
yeah, we can.
No.
We can. No,
because I mean it's it's broken, like it's broken as Shadow Priest, right? Like if we're just gonna mention it,
yeah. No, I think it's like a good quality card to begin with, especially when you can set it up in a variety of ways, whether minion trading, like even control decks with like it's kind of a reverse touch of the Naxxramas, right? Which touch was a very good card. And I know a lot of people are probably like championing the Hysteria treatment of targeting only enemy minions, but I think part of the intent of the card, along with like the undead synergies that were released with Priest, is that you do sometimes want to use it on your own minion. So I don't think that that's like the intent or the spirit of the card. So it seems like an like we might just end up having to eat another ban. Is the unfortunate thing here too.
Yeah, like Foul Egg is kind of like a big thing in the Undead Priest they're like pushing. So,
right.
But also just like piercing shot type lethals, when you build your
Right.
own thing for lethal, it's kind of fancy. But yeah, like this card makes it makes things like Felwing so good in Shadow Priest. Like Felwing's already one of your best cards, and the one kind of situations where it's a little dodgy is in like aggro mirrors where you kind of want to clean up the board and you can't really afford to go face. Now it's like, oh, now I get to clean up the board and go face, and and then Felwing like almost costs 0 by itself. So I think Shadow Priest has a very good shot of kind of like entering that real upper echelon of aggro decks, and something like Secret Mage might actually fall a little bit below the likes of even Shaman Pirate Rogue and Shadow.
Yeah. Well, that is some massive copium that this card doesn't just get banned like 4 days into the expansion. So we'll see.
This is true.
Yeah. I'll happily take a 4-day ban on this card if that. I would rather it be faster than that.
Yeah, there are totally devs that are listening to this podcast, and they're totally gonna understand the frustration, and they're totally gonna emergency ban it in a couple days, right? Totally, absolutely. Yeah, Mind Seer. This is the card to keep an eye on, I guess, for the mini set, right? At least for Wild, in terms of the deck and kind of its impact.
I will say, I actually kind of don't mind something like this making it into live, but it all is dependent on how quick the turnaround is. Like, that's the important part, right? Like, if we played with this and the hypothetical example is, like, we're going to play this for 48 hours and it's going to be very, very stupid, and then, like, people can go do a wacky combo and then it'll get banned, I don't really mind that as much. If it extends out to, like, 2 weeks, I really hate that. So it is all just dependent on like what the response time is. Whereas I know Roffle seems to be a bit more like, please don't let this ever touch the format at all, which is also fair.
Yeah, I also like. I feel like it would require a standard balance change in order for us to get a hot fix for this in Wild. Is my concern. So like I'm not optimistic that it'll be a quick turnaround time if it does make it to release, which it does look like it's going to. So the concern is like, yeah, how long are we going to deal with it?
Yeah, with hot fixes, they can only really change numbers, right? And so it's like, you guys want to bump test subject up to 12 mana? And then it's like, until we wait for the real change.
Radiant Elemental to 4, right?
Well, that's a standard change, which is kind of what Ruffle's talking about.
Right. I think
they're not going
at
to
the end
hot
of-
fix a standard card.
Right. At the end of the day, I think that like Radiant is the problem. It's not test subject, but they've already indicated that they're not going to do it. So like this combo could very well exist with any other 1 mana spell that they print that does something similar. Like it's, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. I have seen the take a couple times on Twitter of, yeah, just like let us play with it for a couple days and let us see. But I don't know, like you guys mentioned, like I don't know what this magical Christmas land is where we would get a change in like 2 or 3 days, 4 days if it was a problem. And then I don't want it to just like kind of ruin the release of brand new content and brand new cards if this is like Switcheroo or Kael'thas where it stayed around for like 2 or 3 weeks before it got addressed, and you're just going to drive people away from playing with your new content, which is, I feel like, not something you ever want. So we'll see. It is going to go live. We'll see tomorrow. We'll let you guys know next week how much Hearthstone we played because of Mindseer combo, and go from there. But let's move on to our next card here, and that is Cannibalize. 4 mana shadow spell. Destroy minion. Restore its health to all friendly characters. 4 mana assassinate that heals you for destroying a big minion, I guess. Like reverse Siphon Soul. Or not even reverse, just better Siphon Soul. Yeah, Cannibalize, I guess Reno Priest, Big Priest are kind of the decks that you want to play it in. I don't even know if it's good.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's fine in, like, Reno Shadow. Like, you would have definitely played it in the Miracle Rogue-esque meta, right? In Reno Shadow with Renathal. I don't know, that deck's kind of a bit dead now, though. But yeah, I guess you could have slotted in there.
Yeah, brought up the bad memories, bringing up the Miracle Rogue. You did that one to yourself, though.
Yeah.
All right. Last priest card here. Rotting Necromancer. 4 mana, 5/4, undead. Battlecry Dredge. If it's an undead, deal 5 damage to the enemy hero. It's 4 mana, but does this make its way into that undead aggro shadow priest? Because it is 4 mana, 5/4, deal 5.
Well, it would, if you could play enough undead, like, so that didn't suck. That's the whole problem, is with a card like this, right, is that you need it to be active probably like 90-95% of the time. You know, like, you want it to be Swordfish, right, where it's just like, holy shit, I whiffed? Not like, oh, damn it, I whiffed. Like, it needs to be an absolute shocker. And the only way that happens is if you're playing like 17 undeads, excluding this one, so like 18 total undeads or something. That's when you get up into that like 90% range. If you're playing like 14 undeads, there's like you're gonna whiff like a third of the time, and that's just horrific. So you need to run all these undeads. The undeads are all bad. I think I'd see the problem.
Yeah, and you just have card that does this for 2 mana already that you can tutor reliably. Like you have Mind Blast already. Like, I think you're fine.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we've played Knife Bender like pretty recently in Wild, like in Even Hunter, like little as like a year ago. There was like Burn Shadow
Recently
Priest that played it. No, like a year ago. Like there was like Burn Shadow Priest that played Knife Bender. Even Hunter played Knife Bender. This is way better than Knife Bender if it was active. Right. And you didn't have to play bad undeads.
All right, so on the shelf for the future, when in 3 years we finally get more undead cards to potentially make this playable, seems like where we're putting this one. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the undead version of the deck is much cooler than the traditional pirates, so I'm rooting for the undeads. We just need more good cards. All right, let's move into Rogue. Let's talk about the weirdest abomination of a card I've ever seen, but it's also kind of cool. Stitched Creation. 3 mana, 1/1 undead. All right, and I'm going to read an essay here. You guys just have to bear with me. 3 mana, 1/1 undead. Combo. Gain +2/+2. Infuse 2. Gain +3/+3. Mana Thirst. 8. Gain +4/+4. So this is theoretically a 3 mana 1/1 or a 3 mana 3/3 or a 3 mana 4/4 or a 3 mana 5/5 or a 3 mana 6/6 or 7/7 or
Yeah, it
yada
stacks.
yada yada.
It stacks me.
Yeah. But I think the max is 3 mana 10/10, right?
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I guess the only world where I see this potentially being playable is like the one person out there that's still trying to make Odd Rogue work. And that's kind of it.
Is it even good there?
Yeah, I
like
don't know.
Stitch Creation as a singular card is a 3-mana 1/1.
I could see you reliably getting it down with Infuse 2 in Odd Rogue, so it's like a 3-mana 4/4. But we don't play Henchclan.
And you play it on 4 with a 1-drop. You play it on 4 with a 1-drop, so it's like a turn 4, 1-drop, and 3-mana 6/6.
Is that good enough?
It's
on turn 4, you're dying to. On turn 4, you're dying to Mindseer Priest. It's too slow, right?
I already dead. You're on to the next game. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally unplayable.
Actually unplayable. It is a very cool card, though. I'm not gonna lie. Probably won't see it anywhere outside of Arena, though.
It hurt my brain when I read it the first time. This is the card that actually tested my reading skills the most.
All right. Next up, we finally got Pirate Rogue support. Thank God. The archetype is finally playable in Wild. Roffle hates me for just starting with that. So 1-mana 1/3 Undead Pirate. After your hero attacks, summon a 1/1 Undead Pirate. Jolly Roger is busted in half. This card is so good in Pirate Rogue. No, it's a 1-mana 1/3 pirate that summons patches, that summons you more pirates for your Oh my goodness, this card is insane.
Yeah, like earlier we were talking about why does this card have this line of text? The line of text that I'm worried about here is the 3 health on it. Why does it have 3 health with this effect? What are you doing with it? Like, this should have 1 health, right? Like, what? You can't just have like a card with this effect be a tempo 1-drop. Like, that's why Peasant is the way that it is. That's why like a lot of the runaway 1-drops are things that have this much health with an effect. And so recently they've done a good job of printing things with an effect that are fragile. And this is unfortunately not that.
I can't believe I read the Reddit thread that was like, you guys think we played Jolly Roger and Pyre? Like the comments, which is fantastic. I think most people were on board, but a lot of people are like, I don't know, it's not aggressive enough. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this card is so primo, it's so busted. Like, playing the mirror is gonna come down to like who has the Jolly Roger, right? Like it's the 1/3 stat line is fantastic, and like playing this going first in the mirror is just like instantly game ending. I don't know, like there's another card in this set that's a 1-mana 1/3 pirate, and I'm pretty sure we play that in Pirate Rogue. So like the bonus text is, kind of the big help as well. Yeah, I think
didn't they just print this card as a 2/2 earlier?
Yeah, in Demon Hunter, right? Or Shark Fin.
No, there's a pirate that does the same exact thing, but it was a 2-mana 2/2, and they just like made it 10 times better.
Oh, you did that?
I don't know the name of the card, but I know we used to play it. So.
Oh, Shark Fin fan.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And there's the other Demon Hunter one.
There's the Demon Hunter one too.
Yeah. Oh, that's on the 2/1s. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll probably push Pirate Rogue in a direction where they're playing like Southsea Captains, I think. You lower the curve, you cut Cutting Class, you cut Smite, you run Southsea Captain. You're much, much faster onto the board, Swarmy. So just when you thought Pirate Rogue couldn't, get any faster.
All right, last question about Jolly Roger. Last question about this card. Is this the best 1-drop pirate we've ever gotten?
Ooh.
Patches still exists, so.
Well, it's not a 1-drop pirate.
Fillet Fight is very good. Like, Fillet Fight is bloody strong.
I'm comparing it to, like, Fillet Fighter
First Mate?
and First Mate. Those are the 2 cards.
Mate?
Yeah.
Buffed?
We'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
How goes the buffed?
Oh, Small Time Buck?
2/2? No. The one that reduces the weapon. That one's pretty good as well.
The warrior
one. There's been a lot of good 1-drop pirates, huh? It's kind of weird.
All right, definitely the best rogue one at least, right? Can we go with that one?
Sure.
I guess Fillet Fighter is a rogue card. Never mind, I completely forgot that. Yeah. All right. PSA, put Jolly Roger in your Pirate Rogue decks. All right. Last rogue card, Ransack. 0 mana, deal 1 to a minion. If you played a card from another class this turn, deal 4 instead. It's very Vendetta-esque, I think is the name of the card, right? Where it was like a 4 mana deal 4, but then it was 0 mana if you had a card from another class in your hand. This is 0 mana deal 4. as well, but you have to have played the card, which I think makes it a lot worse than Vendetta, because I feel like a lot of the times when you're burgling, Roffle, you correct me if I'm wrong, you are burgling unplayable cards, and so it's a lot harder to play them in the same turn, because you just can't play them.
Yeah. I mean, it is slightly better in that like it's a 0 mana deal 1 is probably better than a 4 mana would deal 4. So like the requirement, without the requirement, it's probably fine. It's just like we don't play Vendetta, so we're probably not playing this in most wild decks.
Could you have played this in just Edwin Rogue or Miracle Rogue?
That's kind of what I was
Without
thinking. Is like
without any intention of actually fulfilling it.
Potentially, yeah, just with like as a combo activator for things like Gone Fishing or Edwin himself. Like, yeah, I think you.
Oh wait, I mean, I guess we don't play Backstab, but I guess this can deal. Yeah, I guess not, because like if we're not playing Backstab.
True.
What,
you do have
what
to
about
but...
what about in Cockroach? Because you could always hazy cock into a card that's 3 less from another class.
Yeah. Like if you're playing Potion Belts, then that's like a thought, but probably not. I'm gonna go with ahead and say it's probably not that playable.
Yeah. All right. So that's Rogue. To sum up Rogue, Jolly Roger, Pirate Rogue, yay. Or if you're Roffle, Pirate Rogue, nay.
Oh, come on, we're all down about the Pirate Rogue.
Hey, look, he did you dirty with the Sork Apprentice. I'm gonna do him dirty with the Pirate Rogue. Get him back. Make it even. Okay. Shaman. Let's move on to Frostfin Chomper. 3 mana, 2/3 Elemental Murloc. Battle cry. If you played an Elemental last turn, summon 3 1/1 Murlocs. So if you meet the requirement, it is a 3 mana 5/6. Yeah. However, there's the downside of having to play an Elemental. We talked about this earlier, where Elementals are just not relevant in the format. They haven't been for a very long time, and so it kind of makes me think this card is just unplayable.
Decks that want Murlocs as well probably want like a very specific set of Murlocs.
I don't know. Like I think you could play potentially Murloc Shaman with an Elemental package, and the Elemental package would actually also be a Murloc package. So you play Mistake and Amalgam and maybe Kindling Elemental, and you just play this in Murloc Shaman. Because, I mean, the card's really good with things like Everything is Awesome. You know?
The requirement though of like playing it last turn, it's so like it requires you to set up very specific turns that like is part of why elementals are so bad.
Yeah, it also feels like when it's not active, it's just like absolute terrible.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
Like
no.
And if you're only running the 6 elementals, I see where you're coming though from, like with the amalgams, but yeah, I'm not sold on it. I hate that they revisited these things because they were always so bad in the past anyways, and it just kind of makes them unplayable from the get-go. All right, next up we have Cold Storage. 1 mana frost spell, freeze a minion. Add a copy of it to your hand. So competing with Wind Chill for that 1 mana frost slot, but instead of drawing a card, you are getting a copy of a minion. Can I interest you guys in something that Martian Boo tweeted out, where he says you just play this in Shadowwalk Shaman, and you run 2 Toxins, and then you Flurgle Tox somebody, and then you just cold storage the Flurgle back to your hand, and you get to do it over and over again, which sounds super fun and interesting. I love that. Do you guys agree?
I mean, it does a lot of. It seems like a pretty flexible card in Shudderwalk Shaman. Worst case scenario, pick back up your Shudder and there's no failure rate associated with it anymore. It's basically a Zola without the body, but sometimes like the body on Zola is pretty meaningless anyway, and allows you to potentially likely play whatever minion you're picking back up because you had the mana to play it last turn, so you likely have the mana to play it the next turn, so you can chain things like Snowfall Guardians a little bit more efficiently. Yeah, I think it probably just goes into that deck. I don't know if you're necessarily just directly replacing a Wind Chill because there is some value in just like journeying through your deck, but like it has, in my mind, some pretty good flexibility in terms of what Shudderwalk Shaman needs.
I'm not quite as high on it. I think worst case scenario is that you're playing at Secret Mage or even Shaman. then it's like you can't ever freeze the enemy cards because those are unplayable for you, and you kind of can't really freeze your own stuff because you need to remove opponent's tempo while developing your own. Um, like there's a lot of matchups where I think this is like just unplayable. That said, I don't want to be like poo-poo the card too hard because like low-thab blocking in relevant matchups is awesome. Like in mirrors, like this could be really good and things like that. So I'm just not as high on it, and I've never been super high on Seance either. And so I'm a little doubtful. The Toxfin idea and kind of like trying to build slightly around the card is something that I think is interesting, but as is, I don't think you just slot it into the deck without some tinkering, I would say.
Can I interest you in a build playing Zentimos so that you're getting a ton of value out of your wind chills and cold storages?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's something that I might look at trying. Is like that full AOE freeze package.
Bring back Snowfall Guardian. Let's go. Um, sorry, not the right audience. My bad. All right, last shaman card here. Blazing Transmutation, 1 mana fire spell. Choose a minion. Discover one that costs 1 more to transform it into. And so I know people are kind of not happy with this card in standard with the limited 10-drop pool with Goldshire Null. And this is the card you talked about earlier where they kind of removed the Neptulon from the potential pool so that you can no longer discover into a Neptulon, which would be very gross. So yeah, I guess now we're looking at it in Evolved Shaman, right? Do we in Wild, or do we even think that this is playable in something like a big Shaman where you like make a big boy, you make a value trade, and then you like turn it into another 10-drop? Is that something that we're maybe interested in?
So the benefit of this, because you are overpaying for this card, the benefit is meant to be that you get to reduce some of the variance associated with it, but there's such a wide card pool in Wild that you're done just like kind of undoing that change by playing this card in your Wild deck. Top that off, we don't have the null interaction in Wild because we have 11 mana minions, so you can't even use this on a null. You would have to use Mutate, which is probably just better in most situations, right? So I don't know. I'm not convinced that this card would make the cut in a Wild Evolve list.
I agree with Roffle.
All right. Let's move into Warlock here. A couple months ago, we got, and by we, I mean I got Omega baited by a Matt London tweet where he said, "What if Dark Peddler versus had 1 extra health?" And I was like, "Oh, dude, he's gonna buff wild cards." And we did a whole episode on that. And it turns out he was just baiting us because of this new card, Suspicious Peddler. 2 mana, 2/3 undead Battlecry. Discover a 1-cost card. If your opponent guesses your choice, they get a copy. So we've seen this kind of effect before on some of those 1-drops in Mage and Priest. But yeah, 2 mana, Dark Peddler. Your opponent potentially gets the choice. Dark Peddler is unplayable. The stats were never really the issue with Dark Peddler in Wild, and so I kind of just feel like this card is bad. I just feel a little bit bad that we also, and by we, I mean me, got Omega debated by Matt London's tweet, and I'm a little bit sad by that.
Kind of feel like I tried to warn you. And
Yeah,
I can't remember the episode, but that sounds like something I try and warn you about.
I don't want to go back to that episode and find out, so yeah. But yeah,
We'll bury that one in the archives.
Yeah, this card's just unplayable. Let's talk about Nothing's Impossible. What a name for a card. It's a 2-mana spell. Give all friendly demons and murlocs Death Rattle. Summon a 2/2 Implock. The Implocks are 2-mana demon murlocs that count as imps as well for your Vile Library or Pending Catastrophes. So they really took these 2 parasitic mechanics that they printed in back-to-back sets, and they were like, okay, they weren't really a thing. Let's mash them together, and maybe they'll be a thing now. Kind of printing this as a way to kind of fuse those two archetypes. And so, is Imp Murloc Warlock, potentially going to be a thing in Wild? I guess is the question.
No. Like, no. I don't even think you say parasitic mechanics, but like Imp Warlock is a good deck, and I think this is an Imp Warlock card because Imp Warlock is a good deck. So if you consider this in anything, it's you just put this on your imps so that your imps are a little bit more resilient, and you can infuse them more, and you can get better imp synergies after the fact. But like having a wide board of Murlocs in Warlock doesn't do anything for you. So like you
Well,
would play this in the deck.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a 2-mana soul, the forest.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I'm saying it's a pretty good card, but like you have a hard time with the cards that you got from Warlock for Murlocs. You have a much harder time going wide than you do with something like an Imp Warlock. Like I think this is a very good card in Imp Warlock. I don't think it's a card that moves the needle hardly at all in Murloc Warlock.
yeah, I would agree with that. So I'd definitely look at trying like a demon / imp warlock in wild with this. Mistaken patches, patches is a demon.
Does it count as an imp too?
No,
the
mistake. The mistake doesn't count as an imp.
Okay.
Yeah. I still don't think it's enough. Like I still think like imp / demon warlock is still lagging a bit in wild compared to the other stuff, but it's there.
Yeah. It's a new card, so it's a reason to try the deck out, dust it off.
All right. The last Warlock card here is Plague Eruption. It is a 3-mana spell that says deal 2 damage to all minions. If you've discarded a card this game, deal 1 more. This is like a controlled discard Warlock thing. Probably fits really, really well with Scourge Supplies.
It says the words discard in it. You just play this in disco lock. Don't even think about it. Just add it to your deck.
Definitely do that.
It says the word discard in it. If you do your keyword search, which all disco lock players do, they just search for discard and add the cards. Like, just add the card. Just add it. You won't.
See what you guys are doing. Yeah, no, play it. Yes, do it.
Yes.
Good idea.
All right. Don't do it. We can't condone that. Let's move into Warrior Training Session. 1-mana spell that says discover a taunt minion. If you play it this turn, repeat this. Is there something cute we can do with that? What is it?
Nope.
Is it Glorybringer the one that?
I had the funniest comment in my Twitch chat that talked about this card, where I'm like, okay, here's what you do with this card. You go back, you build a time machine, you go back to 2017, you play it in Quest Warrior. And then, you just replace Phantom Militia. And then chat was like, isn't this worse than Phantom Militia? And then I had to think about it, and I'm like, oh my god. It probably is. Like, the old 3-mana 2/4 Taunt Echo card is probably just better than this.
Yeah, it's like discover effects in wild as well. So, like, what are you gonna?
What is the name of that card? Is it Glorybringer? Where like you're
Glory Chaser?
Glory Chaser? Where you're
just
you play a taunt. You get
even with Glory Chaser to the front, there's going to be way too many times where you're stuck choosing like a 6-mana taunt as your cheapest option, to where like this card is just completely unplayable. I assure you, it is. You're just better off playing low cost taunts with Glory Chaser than like
discover a taunt minion that costs 2 or less. If you play it this turn, repeat this.
That would be even 3 or less would be worth considering.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fancy.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Well, it's not any of those, and so we're sad. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Hookfist 3000. 3-mana 4/3 mech pirates. After your hero attacks, gain 4 armor and draw a card. It's a 3-mana 4/3 pirate that draws you cards. It's like the 2/5 Cutlass Warrior, but for Pirate Warrior, if only Pirate Warrior still existed. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like, unironically, this is one of the cards I'm looking the most forward to. Like, it seems odd being me and like excited about a Pirate Warrior card, but like between this and the neutral that we've all been alluding to, like there's a lot of sweet stuff that you can do in some of these dual minion type cards in really, really, really reducing a Tent Trasher to 0 very quickly. Between pulling patches, the amalgams, and now this, you can very reliably get a very early Tent Trasher that can actually be like your version of the Walloper in an Outcast Demon Hunter. So I'm very much looking forward to this card.
Yeah, just an excellent card. Like, great tribes for the baton, being able to hit double. And just like getting armor in the deck where you're probably going to be a little bit passive on the early turns, right? Equipping baton isn't exactly the greatest tempo play of all time. So, just like getting armor's good, and refilling your hand for the baton in the future is really good. It's just like, it's great.
Yep. All right. Last but not least here for Warrior, Flesh Shaper. 6-mana 3/8 undead with taunt. Battlecry. If you have 5 or more armor, summon a copy of this. So
No,
even warrior.
I think you were mistaken. Last and least.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, no. So we got one playable card in Hook Fist, which is kind of exciting. Yeah. Let's move into neutrals because I think a lot of the neutrals are exciting. Let's talk about the boring ones, and then we'll get to the ones that are super exciting. So let's talk about Dark Fallen Shadow, 3 mana, 3/3 undead with rush, mana thirst 6, gain reborn. I don't know anywhere that this is play outside of Arena.
Yeah.
Lost.
Let's not talk about Duskfallen Shadow.
Yeah, exactly. Lost Exarch, 4 mana, 5/4 undead, death rattle. Spend all of your mana, summon that many 2/2 zombies with rush. So this incentivizes you to not spend your mana, so that on your enemy's turn, if they kill this, you get zombies. Which, or you play this on turn 5, you kill it, and you get 5 2/2s with rush, and then you don't get to play a 5 mana card.
Yeah, spending your mana is good.
Mm-hmm. Believe it or not. All right, now let's go to the card that is apparently definitely a mistake, and that is because its name is Mistake. It is a 1 mana 1/3 amalgam. It has all minion types. This is the card that we've been talking about a ton. All of the things that care about tribes, right? All of your tribal decks, all your menagerie decks probably want to be playing Mistake. It's a 1 mana 1/3 pirate at its like baseline, or 1 mana 1/3 Murloc, 1 mana 1/3 beast with tons of upside. So
yeah, gives you a reason to consider just like shoving patches into things too, like into like Murloc Shaman or something along those lines. Like, why not? Like, yeah, like, this card's nuts. So like we talked about with Jolly Roger, it's got a good stat line, and then on top of that, any of those like minion type decks, you're probably running an amalgam as well, right? The 2 mana amalgam. So like, why not just shove a patches in there? That seems like decks have run fewer pirates in them in the past and still been successful. Like, patches Renaissance incoming.
Yeah, the like 1 mana 1/3 vanilla, like I don't want that to get overrated. Like those cards are typically like very bad, but sometimes you need a bad card to make a deck work, or like a not outstanding card to make a deck work. Like something like Totem Shaman loves this, right? Like it's so desperate for literally any sticky totem on one, like where it's had Sinstone, the new one, and it has Tour Guide, and that's kind of like it. And then like Mistake is kind of crucial for that kind of archetype. So just having access to that is fantastic. Like Roffle said, you know, like you're probably going to be playing Amalgam in that. And so it gives Totem Shaman like a real fighting chance for board if you play Mistake and get patches. So that's really cool. So Totem Shaman, awesome. It makes like decks that were running Bloodsail Corsair just for the pirate tag. It's very clear upgrade. So Aggro Druid, great. Shadow Priest, great. You play it in the Menagerie Warrior, great. Like there's a whole bunch of spots where Mistake this kind of cleans up the archetype and he's gonna make it feel a lot more tied together and satisfying and improve it. Probably none of like the top tier archetypes. Maybe like Pirate Rogue plays it. I think it's like competing with like Buccaneer in that kind of role. We'll have to wait and see, but you know, for a card that's a Mistake, apparently, it seems like a pretty successful inclusion in the set, I'd say.
yeah. I'm also excited to Galaka Crawler or Hungry Crab. A ton of mistakes coming forward because it does also get hit by all of those. So,
any Zephyros bans? It's not
I think
too
we
late
have
to
bigger
change
issues we
Hungry
need banned. All right. All right. So Mistake is, I think, like to kind of sum it up, the glue that's going to hold a lot of these decks together that are kind of just like they need a little bit of help.
Particularly like the off-meta decks that people aren't playing, which I think is also very important.
Yeah. All right. Now let's get to the two neutral legendaries of the set. And let's start with Thaddeus. Thaddeus Monstrosity. 10 mana, 11/11, undead with taunt. Your odd cost cards cost 1. Swaps polarity each turn. I never actually confirmed this, but I'm assuming by swapping polarity, it means like the next turn your even cost cards cost 1, and it goes back and forth. Okay, you guys are nodding. I'm glad. I didn't do my homework. I apologize. But 10 mana, 11/11 taunt that makes cards cost 1. Yeah, how are we feeling? Like it is 10 mana.
Yeah, but it's 10 mana with some synergy that got released earlier in the set. Like, I think Undead Warlock is kind of cute and fun and cool. And this slides into that. I think with Flesh Behemoth existing just as a card, it gives you maybe a little bit of consideration for this. Some of the most fun I've had this expansion, honestly, is just like shoving the neutral big undead package into every deck and like making a deck out of it. Like so I'm excited for it. It's probably not very good, but it doesn't need to be. It's not a card to be very good. It's just a kind of a cool card. Also throw this in your big priest. I don't care. Do what you want. Like make everybody happy by making your deck worse.
And just to clarify, the polarity will also swap what's in your hand. That's like something that Dev confirmed. I don't know, like it's very wonky. Like I don't think it's great right now, but it also, like, if someone just showed me a combo or a deck that made sense, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, that seems sweet. Like, it's very, the possibilities are endless with Thaddeus, I would say. And it might do something stupid at some point. Like, yeah. I'm kind of picturing, like, imagine if you're playing like a big shaman with kind of this is the only target, and then you get out your Muck Morpher, you get out like Thaddeus on turn 5, and then you have like a couple broken 9-cost spells to play for 1 mana, you know, and you just like whip that out, and that's how you like build the archetype. Now those cards don't actually exist right now, but they might, and something similar might exist in the future. So yeah, it's very, very cool, I think, and hopefully it doesn't break anything too badly at some point. But Roffle, I hope you enjoy this with your like Undead Warlock.
Oh, I intend to. I'm like, also, like, it fits naturally in a big shaman already, like, because you know there are times where you like turn 5 Ancestor's Call, and then just, what do I do with this extra mana? Well, maybe I'll play
1 mana Glug.
Yeah, 1 mana Glug.
Glug.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just like saying Glug.
Yeah, everybody does. And so there's some neat things you can do with it. I think it's cool.
I do think it's sweet that it has taunt, because I feel like without taunt it'd be pretty unplayable. But the fact that it has taunt at least makes it, at this point in time, a fun meme card, right? Because you play it and you don't immediately die, potentially.
Right.
And so
yeah, it's because, like, I mean, it has soft taunt as it stands, but like the concern is that you play it and then you die to aggro, which so at least it slows some of that down.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, let's talk about Rivendare War Rider. 6 mana, 6/6 undead. Death Rattle. Shuffle the other 3 horsemen into your deck. So the other 3 horsemen, I'm not going to go through all of their names, but one of them is a 6 mana, 6/6 with Lifesteal. One of them is a 6/6 undead with Rush, and the other one is a 6 mana, 6/6 undead with Taunt. And they all have the text that says Death Rattle. If you have had all 4 horsemen die this game, destroy the enemy hero. So kind of a throwback to Baron Rivendare and Uther, like hero card that had the hero power Exodia kind of combo. There are ways to cheat out undeads and to cheat out minions from your deck. I think my favorite one so far was the one Corb tweeted out, where you play this card on 6, you blast timer it, or you play it, and then turn 7, you Flark's Boomzooka the other 3 6/6 undeads out of your deck, and then boom, you win the game. Probably not good, but it's really, really sweet. And I think that's kind of be the theme for this card, where there's a lot of cute things you can do with it. None of them are probably going to be super top tier, but if it works, and you trigger this win condition, it's gonna be pretty sweet.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is that like Countess Ashmore perfectly draws each of the like token or summon minions. So like you could, in an alignment deck, theoretically Ashmore into these and then break them with like a Poison Seeds or something. So, but yeah, like this isn't going to be strong. In my experience playing a lot of Boomzooka Hunter with my Exna, I can assure you that one of 2 things will happen. You will immediately draw one of the horsemen the turn that you're about to play the Boomzooka, or you will have the unfortunate situation where you still have the Maxima in your deck, and you will unfortunately pull 2 horsemen and her out with the Boomzooka, and not be able to find the last one for the rest of the game. So yeah, it's gonna be that I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try both of those. It's gonna be frustrating. I'm gonna lose a lot of games, but you know I'm gonna keep going.
No one else has ever talked about their heavy experiences with Boomzooka Hunter Roffle. So that's a first.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's very sweet. Like there are a number of classes that can do like kind of. It's fun when like weird cards or bad cards kind of get their moment. You know, whether that is like Flark or from the other side. Like there's some potency to that in Shaman. Like it is 10 mana, but you can tutor out the pieces with things like Prescience or Countess Ashmore, like Roffle said. And so there's kind of like OTK potential in that as well. So I don't know. I think it's a very fun neutral win condition. And I'm looking forward to. I'm sure like this is gonna be like the favorite card of the set for a lot of people, and that's always an important thing to have.
I'm sure it will also be the least favorite card for a fair number of people. So
That's actually true. Yeah.
I do think the card is sweet though. I love when the meme cards like actually have a chance, and then if they actually become meta, then you're allowed to hate them, but you're not allowed to hate it until this card ends up actually being a thing, and I don't think it will be. But I also think the flavor is insanely good. Big fan.
yeah, it's bringing back the Uther boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out of all the set, like the Return to Naxxramas, this is probably one of the best ones, right? In terms of like this and like Curator are probably the most fun throwbacks, I'd say.
Yeah. Big fan. Yeah, I guess kind of on a related note, I just remembered this now, but there is now Diamond, Reno, and Patches. So when you're playing all of these tribal decks and you're playing Mistake and pulling Patches, you can now pull a Diamond Patches out of your deck. And then you can tilt Corb even more when you play a Diamond Reno on turn 6 after you, queue into him with his aggro deck. So, yeah.
And Diamond Zola Meowth. I know that it's not as flashy as the other two, but it is kind of funny that Zola has like joined the iconic cards of Reno Jackson and Patches. It's like, what the hell? Like,
it doesn't even add a diamond copy of the card. It adds a golden one. So what's even the point? Yeah, but that's really unrelated. It just for some reason I was thinking about that. But yeah, I mean that's what is this? I was gonna say 35, but I guess it's 38 cards now from the mini set. I didn't count, but yeah. Return to Naxxramas. How are you feeling about it? I know we went on a little bit of a tangent with mines here and how potentially dangerous it is and scared we are. But assuming that gets touched and within a week, how excited are you guys for the mini set after that?
You want me to be honest? I like.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't think I've been, in part because of the mines here. I don't know that I've been less excited about a set of cards since I started creating content in Hearthstone, which has been about 5 years. So the part of that is both the state of the format right now, as well as like what the cards add to the state of the format right now. Like there are some really fun cards that I would like to be able to play, but I am not confident that I will ever get a chance to play them.
Yeah, I would pretty much echo that, where I would say out of any mini set reveal or anything that I've got, this is probably like the least pumped up I've been about things, specifically like relating to Wild. Like, do I see myself playing a ton of Wild in 2 weeks? No, like absolutely not. Unless something happens in 2 weeks, but again, like let's not overdose on any hopium. Thinking about balance changes. So yeah, I mean, I'm not pumped. Like, I think that the biggest impact that the set is probably going to have, like, here's the timeline, right? It's going to be broken Mindseer combo for like 2 weeks. That's going to get nerfed. And then what's going to be left is the biggest impact is going to be broken Pirate Rogue. And I guess Mindseer won't exist for Shadow Priest. So that's kind of like the way I see the set going. I don't really see things changing too much. And I'm a little bit disappointed specifically, like we've kind of like talked about a lot of these cards having these weird conditions and things like that. And in Wild, where you do need the power level to be a little bit more appropriate, it's not like any of these cards would be busted, but they would definitely give a little bit more room for playability. So, yep, not super pumped about this one, which I know isn't the answer that you're supposed to give, but I mean, it's just the truth, like Roffle said.
Hey, look, the truth is what you're always supposed to tell, even if it's not super positive. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't disagree with you, but I also think that like silver linings from a non-competitive point, right? Like if they address Mindseer I think there's a lot of like super flavorful cards, and super like the Baron Riveter is gonna be like a super fun card to play. So they at least did well with those. But I also agree with you of like Mindseer aside, the best card in the set is a Pirate Rogue card, and I don't know that Pirate Rogue really needs the help, and I don't know how much better Pirate Rogue getting better is going to actually make the format a more enjoyable place. So, yeah, I don't disagree with you guys, but I'll be a little bit of a beacon of positivity. I think there's some sweet cards, right, with cards like the Purator Mistake that I'm going to enjoy playing with until I close the game, because I got Mindseared one too many times on turn 4 and go from there. But yeah, Miniset does launch tomorrow. I know you guys are gonna be playing the game, right? Playing the new stuff, at least for a little bit.
Hopefully we're playing the game.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I guess with
I'd love
Mindseer
to
Comp,
play
you're
a
not really
game.
playing. Right?
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. But that is gonna wrap it up for our card review episode. Let the people know where they can find you guys. Lose your minds to Mindseer Combo when the new stuff drops tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be live tomorrow on YouTube at Roffle, and later in the week on Twitch, also at Roffle.
Yes, I will be live tomorrow. That much I guarantee. The rest of the week, but you can find me at Corbett on Twitch or Corbettgames on YouTube and Twitter, guys.
Yeah, I've been taking a little bit of break from Wild from the for the state of the meta, right? Getting some work
Weird.
done.
It's almost like every streamer feels like they're trying to take a break from Wild at once. It's so crazy, right?
What a weird coincidence. Couldn't be anything about the format, right? It's just a coincidence. But I will be making my return, at least for one day, like Corb, to try out the new stuff tomorrow, and then go back into my graduate school slumber and not touch the game until they make changes, hopefully. But podcast will persist. We will talk about stuff next week. We'll talk about the new cards, and we'll talk about how we're, needing Mindseer to be banned if they don't do it earlier. Appreciate you guys for hanging with me week after week, and thanks to all the listeners that listen week after week. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys again next time. Later.